Well, good evening, everybody. It's December the 15th. This is Cutler on the Let's Talk to Cutler broadcast, the Let's Talk to Cutler program. And I'm glad to be here. We're in the middle of the month now. And every Tuesday and Thursday, I'm here with you. I've been here with you as you have been here with me. And you know how I do it. We only have 1,800 seconds. So wherever you are, allowing me to show up, whatever space you are sharing with me, I'm thankful for that. So I want to thank you for allowing me to share your space, whether it's your living room, your dining room, your kitchen, your bedroom, your front porch, your back porch, your car, if you're driving safely. Thank you so much for joining. And in just a moment, I'm going to shout out our LTTC VIPs for the evening. But it is a great Tuesday, the 15th. We're halfway through the month of December. Christmas is in just a few days now, and I'm thankful about it. I'm thankful. Are you guys ready for Christmas? I've wondered if you are. Come on, as you're joining the chat, do me a favor and go ahead and do a thumbs up on the conversation. It just encourages me and it says to YouTube, hey, I like the content. I like what we're talking about. I like what we're discussing. And as you all know, we are basing our conversation on this book right here, Billboards to Better, 366 daily sources of motivation and inspiration as we are riding along the highway of life. Thank you all so much for joining this evening. Again, if you haven't done so, please make sure that you subscribe. And then after you subscribe, do me a favor, go ahead and click on that bell. It just lets you know whenever I'm on live, whenever I've uploaded new content, as you probably got a notification that I went live just now. But thank you all so much for joining and tuning in. I need to make sure that in this 1,800 seconds, every minute matters, every moment is meaningful, and every second has to be significant. So I want us to come in one way and leave just a little bit better than we did when we came in. Let me do a quick shout out to our VIPs for this evening. It is Jackie Cares RN. It is Audrey Winfrey. That would be Lady. And it is Yvonne Jones. Thank you all so much. All right. So, I call these my people, my cousin Jack and my cousin Lady. My cousin Yvonne, I love you all, and I thank you so much for tuning in and joining. Every Tuesday, you all know what we do. From this book, we read our quotes for Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And then every Thursday, we'll read the quotes from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Saturday is whatever you want to do with the quote all day your way. Use it as a source of motivation, as a source of meditation, or as a conversation starter. They are good conversation starters, you all. If you don't have the book, do me a favor, run on over to Amazon.com and get it, or go to my website, www.gbcutler.com. I want to go ahead and get started. But again, I want to go ahead and get started. But again, we're on this thing called the Highway of Life together, and I'm honored and humbled that you share this space with me every Tuesday and Thursday. All right, let's go ahead to our quote for the 13th, because today's the 15th. We're going to read 13, 14, 15. All right. 13th, the quote says, while you're being real and transparent, don't forget to be holy. While you're being real and transparent, don't forget to be holy. And let me just share with you all, when I was developing the transcript for this book and I was gathering some of my original quotes, I recall hearing people say things like, I've got to keep it real, or I've just got to be real. I wonder if any of you all have ever said that. Or they would say things like, I'm not fake, I'm just transparent. And in my experience, they seem to use those terms to suggest that you can't be real and righteous at the same time. And so they seem to suggest that those terms are mutually exclusive. But I want to remind us this evening that you can be transparent and you can be trustworthy. You can be cool and you can still be committed to your faith. So I wrote this quote because I realized that sometimes it's uncomfortable for us to explore our full capacity. Sometimes people are just uncomfortable for whatever reasons exploring the full capacity of all that they can be and of all that they can do. And sometimes, we are challenged. We're challenged to become better. And you know what we will do? I know I've done this in the past. What we will do when we are challenged to become better, sometimes we will retreat and we sink into the comfort of what we know. We sink into the comfort of who we already are and how we already show up. And we shy away from the thing that we call potential and potential capacity. We stray away from looking at what we are fully capable of doing for whatever reason. We won't even bother to look within us and see how really strong we are. It happens so many times. Good evening to all those of you who are just joining. Please make sure you do a thumbs up on the conversation. And I wanted to share this with you all as I'm talking about while you're being real and transparent. Don't forget to be holy. It's really about exploring the full capacity of all that you're capable of being. And although Nelson Mandela has been credited with this saying, it was, believe it or not, a 2020 candidate for the Democratic nomination, presidential nomination. It was author Marianne Williamson who said this: "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate," she wrote. "Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. We are afraid, you all, of what we are capable of doing. We are sometimes intimidated by who we are capable of becoming. We are insecure about achieving different levels of greatness, and sometimes we just choose to be real because we are insecure about being righteous." But as Marianne Williams went on to say, and again, we sometimes give Nelson Mandela credit for saying this, but as Marianne Williams went on to say in her book, I think it's Return to Love, she said, "It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us most. We ask ourselves," she said, "who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God, and your playing small does not serve the world." I'm telling you all this. We do ourselves in the whole wide world, we do ourselves a disservice when we fail to show up and show all of our magnificence and all of our splendor and all of our capability and all of our capacity and all of our excellence and all of our greatness. We do the world a disservice when we fail to let all of that show up. But as we prepare in this day and this age, as we get ready and as we live in this day and age, you all, here's what I do. I challenge us this evening. Those of you who have tuned in, who are watching this and who will watch the replay, I challenge us to be bold. I challenge us to be bold. I challenge us to be daring. I challenge us to be unapologetically who we are. I challenge us to be magnificently great. I challenge us to be incredibly powerful. I challenge us to tap into who we were created to be. Don't you know that we have the DNA of the creator of the world down on the inside of us? And so I challenge us to look inside of ourselves and dare ourselves to be better. Dare ourselves to be better, y'all. I challenge us not to lurk in the shadows of other people, wondering what they might think about our greatness. Because guess what? It does not matter what other people think about your greatness, because your greatness is not contingent upon what anybody else thinks of you other than God. That's your greatness. That's the greatness that you possess. And God will never place you in the path of people who have to scratch away at your emerald just to make their diamond shine. God won't do it. He won't do it. So don't you let anybody else cheapen. Don't you let anybody else lessen. Don't you let anybody else devalue the emerald that you are created to be. Because you do know that emeralds are more rare and more precious and more valuable than diamonds. So don't let anybody cheapen you. Don't let anybody devalue you. Don't let them smother or stifle or restrict your capacity, for goodness sakes. You can be real, transparent, and righteous. You can be all of that. You all know, many of you all know that I'm an educator. And if I were to give you all a quiz tonight, I'll give you the quiz, but I'll also give you the answer. I would tell you on this multiple choice question, the answer is not just A, it's not B, it's not C, but the answer is what I call D, all of the above. So don't shortchange yourself, you all. You can have all of the above. Don't restrict yourself, because you can be all of the above. Don't limit yourself, because you can do all of the above. I wonder if somebody who's watching the chat and joining the chat tonight would just put in the chat comments that I can do all of the above. Because you really can, you all. You really can. I know the quote starts out about talking about people who say that they are real and transparent, but also make sure that you are holy as well. What the essence of that quote is about is making sure that you reach into your full capacity. You can be real, you can be transparent, you can still be righteous. You can be every single thing, do everything, go everywhere, show up in every place God intended for you. And so you be unapologetically you. As we close out, go out of this year and go into another, don't you make any apologies about your greatness. Not anymore. Don't make any apologies about your greatness. And from now on, you say to yourself and other people, guess what? I can do all of the above. That's going to be part of my theme as I go into 2021. I'm telling you, I can do all. Do I have any limits? Absolutely not. My only limit is what God restricts me from doing. But nobody will restrict me. So show up in all of your splendor, all of your magnificence, all of your excellence. You show up. Don't forget, you all, show up. Show up. Okay? All right. So then I want to go on to the next quote. I want to go into the next quote because you all know I have to make sure that I use my time wisely. I only got 1,800 seconds. I only have 1,800 seconds, you all. But I'm telling you, just right there in the chat, I can do all of the above. And you have to remind yourself, I can do all of the above. Why? Because I am wonderfully created in the image. I am marvelously created in God's image. I am powerfully created. I want to inspire you and motivate you this evening and help you to remember who you are. You were brought to this earth because you're somebody. You were brought to this earth because you are somebody. And guess what? When you show up in all of your splendor, people will recognize you. When you show up in all of your excellence, people will recognize you. Some of us are waiting for people to recognize us, but you know what? They're just waiting for us to show up. They're waiting for us to show up, you all. Let me go on to the quote for December the 14th. I hope you all enjoy that. I can do all of the above. All right, let's go into December the 14th. December the 14th, the quote says from this book, Billboard Step Better, the quote says, instead of letting trouble defeat you, allow it to develop you. Instead of letting trouble defeat you, allow it to develop you. You all, there is this interesting, well, at least it's interesting to me. I hope you find it interesting as well. But there is this interesting story behind this particular quote. I wrote this one day when I had to tell myself, Cutler, stop asking for something that you were never promised. Big revelation to me. Stop asking for something that you were never promised. Because I had to realize, you all, that I was never promised a life that was void of heartaches, hardships, pain, trials, troubles, hurdles, ups and downs, ins and outs and roundabouts. I was never promised a life that looked like that. I was never promised roses without thorns. And I don't know about you, but I was never, let me see if I can just put it in 2020 a context. I was never promised a house without having to take care of the mortgage. Absolutely not. Maybe you were, if that's your story, good for you, good for you. But I was never promised a prize without going through the process. That's not my story. So what I've come to expect in life is that troubles will come. I've come to expect them. Listen, I don't look forward to them, and I don't glory or bask in them. I can't predict them, but I do expect that they will come. And you all get this. I had to come to the realization that sometimes they will come on their own. And if the truth be told, sometimes they come because I call them and I cause them to come. That's just my revelation. That's just my reality. Yours might be a little different. And while I may not have been promised a life, you all, that was void of them, I was promised a life that would not crumble and fall just because of them. That's a powerful revelation to me. I wasn't promised a life that was free from them, but I was promised a life that wouldn't crumble because of them. I was promised a life, you all. I was promised a life where trouble might exist, but I would still have some work to do. And while I'm doing my work, it's still working together for my good. I might have the trouble might exist, and I'm just doing my work, doing my part. But guess what, y'all? In the midst of trouble, even the trouble has to work out together for my good. So if it comes my way, or even if I beckon it by my behavior, it's still got to work out for my good. That's my revelation. That's my realization. So in my mind, I'm sharing with you all this evening. In my mind, guess what? I am resolute. I'm resolute that trouble will never defeat me. Trouble will never defeat me, but it's got to develop me. Whatever I go through, it's not going to defeat me. It's got to develop me. That, you all, that's just how I see things. I see things that remind me or that say to me, if I'm depleted in one area, I'm going to overflow somewhere else. If I'm weak in one facet, I'm going to be strengthened in another facet. If I cry on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, guess what? I'm going to laugh, dance, and rejoice Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I'm telling you all, because that's how I see this. That's how I see this. Trouble, but it's going to develop me. Because I want you all think of an athlete. Think of an athlete who he studies or she studies the strategies of his or her opponent, so that the next time the opponent is faced, the athlete is prepared for whatever the opponent brings. I'm going to make sense out of this, you all, because for some of us, we've seen trouble so many times, but we didn't take the time to study trouble when it came. We didn't take the time to learn the lessons that were presented. We didn't evaluate the process that it took us through. I hope I'm going to help save somebody's life tonight, you all, because guess what? We've seen trouble before. We just didn't study it. It has shown up. We have faced it so many more. Listen, you know you faced this enemy called trouble more than once. So I tell you what, so when trouble comes my way, here's my resolve. I tell you, let me just tell you, see, so here's what happens. Wonderful. Trouble doesn't like to be talked about. But you see here, what was I saying? That trouble will not defeat me. And trouble isn't going to defeat us at all. All right, so then I'm telling you, what happens? We see trouble. Trouble comes so many times. And I may have lost a couple of times. And it's not because the enemy was so strong. When trouble seems to defeat me, no, it's not because the enemy was so strong, but it's because I didn't get to know the enemy. I didn't get to study the trouble. I didn't get to evaluate the trouble. And you all know I'm from the country. So let me give you one of my country sayings, especially when technical errors and things like that show up. Let me give you all one of my good country sayings. I'll be doggone if I'm going to stand around and let you keep beating up on me. Absolutely not. Because you might get 2 or 3 good hits, but I'm telling you, the next time I'm going to study trouble. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a weave and bob, and I'm going to punch trouble right in the jaw and break his jawbone. That's your resolve. That has to be your determination when it comes to trouble. And the troubles in life, I'm telling you, don't be afraid of trouble. Don't be afraid of trouble. Sometimes it takes trouble to fine tune us. It takes trouble to polish us. It takes trouble to sharpen our edges. And in the words of God bless the memory of Congressman John Lewis, but he said, do not get lost in a sea of despair. Don't get lost in a sea of despair. Be hopeful. Be optimistic. Yes, I see a TKO. Be hopeful. Be optimistic. Never, ever be afraid to get into good trouble. He calls it necessary trouble. And what do I call it? I call it trouble that's going to make you better. Trouble that's going to push you farther. Trouble that's going to elevate you higher, you all, and trouble that's going to develop you and not defeat you. Don't you be afraid of trouble, because the only thing trouble can do for you is to develop you and not to defeat you. Study trouble when it comes your way. Take a few bends and a few bows. Study trouble, and when it makes its next round, you be prepared to do a bob and weave and hit it a left or a right jab or a hook. That's how we handle life. Develop this resolve that says nothing is coming my way that God doesn't already know about. Nothing is going to bury me. Nothing is going to consume me. Nothing is going to overtake me to the point that I can't dig myself out. And guess what? If it seems like I can't dig myself out, God will reach in and pull me out every single time. All right, you all know I only got 1,800 seconds, and it seems like the technical errors try to take some of them, but I'm gonna make wise use of all of my time. Why? Because you all have allowed me in your space, and I need to make wise use of your time. Let's go to our quote for December the 15th. That's today. The quote says, "What you sow today will show tomorrow. So be kind to creation." What you sow today will show tomorrow. So be kind to creation. Thank you all so much for joining. And again, if you haven't done so, please make sure that you do a thumbs up on the conversation and make sure that you subscribe. If this is your first time, subscribe and make sure that you go ahead and click on that bell so that you receive all the notifications when I'm here, when I'm live, and when I've uploaded content. You all, I just want to share this last quote with you all. Again, what you sow today will show tomorrow. So be kind to creation. I am a proponent of being kind to creation. There are so many terms and so many phrases surrounding this quote, so many concepts and so many ideologies. We hear things like karma. We hear about karma. We hear about sowing and reaping. We hear about payback. We hear about what goes around comes around. And when we look at it, you all, from a very practical standpoint, it's all about what I call reciprocity. It is the law of reciprocity. It means that for every action that we take, there's an equal opposite reaction. We simply call it consequences. We call it consequences. And when I was growing up, let me give you all a little bit insight into my Southern upbringing. When I was growing up, I was keenly aware that my actions, good or bad, had consequences. And I don't remember specifically or directly being told this personally, but I remember some of the older people in my family and some of the older folk in the community would say things like this: don't let your mouth write a check that your butt can't cash. Now, I gave you all the the PG version or the rated G version. But the lesson was this. How many of y'all have ever heard that? Don't let your mouth write a check that your butt can't cash. You know, you all may have heard the R version. But I'm telling you all this. The lesson was, make sure that you're prepared to deal with the consequences of your behavior. Make sure that you're prepared to deal with it, because whatever you sow is going to grow and it is going to show. You all, something something about tomorrow. There is something about, yes, you all said, yes, you've heard that. Something about tomorrow will remind the world that you were here today. Something that's going to pop up tomorrow, something that's going to show tomorrow that will remind the world that you were here today. So you might not get a chance to dictate how people remember your yesterday. You might not get a chance to dictate how they recall what you did and what you said. And so while you cannot dictate how, you can certainly be in charge of what they remember. You can be in charge of what they remember, not necessarily how, but what they remember. And guess what, you all? While I am still here, I never want to be ashamed of my tomorrows. That, again, is just a part of who I am. While I'm here, I never want to be ashamed of my tomorrows. And I'm not suggesting that we have to walk around on eggshells. Absolutely not, because I don't believe in doing that either. I'm not walking around on eggshells for anybody. No, ma'am, no, sir. Because I am going to enjoy life, but I don't ever want to be ashamed of my tomorrows, what pops up, what shows up. But I am suggesting that we have to be deliberate and we have to be intentional about the seeds that we sow. We really do. We have to be deliberate and intentional, you all, about speaking well of others. We have to be, because the seeds are going to show up. We have to be deliberate and intentional about offering people hope and despair. We've got to be deliberate and intentional about not tearing down, but building people up. We've got to be deliberate and intentional about bringing peace to chaotic situations. We've got to be deliberate and intentional about offering hope in the midst of darkness. We've got to be deliberate and intentional about making sure that the people who love us know that we love them. I believe with all my heart. I really, really do. And we have got to be intentional about making sure that anybody who comes into our lives are made better for the experience. That's my resolve. I'm so resolute about that. That's why every Tuesday and Thursday, when you all meet me here and when you graciously allow me to share whatever space you allow me to share, I want to make wise use of our time together. I want to make sure that you feel inspired and encouraged and motivated and challenged to become and be better, to show up a little more excellent tomorrow than you did today, to show up a little more magnificent tomorrow than today, a little more powerful tomorrow than today. That is why I show up every Tuesday and Thursday on this platform. So I want to do something. I want to close by reading yet another poem that I wrote. Because while we don't have to walk around on eggshells, we don't have to tiptoe around life, one of the things we have to do is just be careful. So from book number two, I want to read a poem that I wrote. I may have shared it before. It's called Just Be Careful. Be careful with your life that you don't cause humanity any hurt or shame, or that you're too quick to offer judgment or lay blame. Be careful with your life that you don't love others so much until you hate yourself, or that you search for riches and lose sight of true wealth. Be careful with your life that you don't become blind to the magic of a new day, or that in your search for pleasure you let peace slip away. Be careful with your life that you don't live too much for then and miss out on the now, or that you're more concerned with a regal stand instead of a humble bow. Be careful with your life that you don't let confusion or negativity crowd your mind, or that you let being foolish distract you from being kind. Be careful with your life, for it soon comes to an end. Be careful that you make all creation your friend. This has been 1800 Seconds on the Let's Talk to Cutler platform. It has been my pleasure to share the space with you. And I trust that you all will join me here Thursday at the same time when we travel down this highway and we're reading these billboards to better. Until then, you all, please share this channel, share this broadcast with family and friends. Invite them to join us here every Tuesday and Thursday. I hope by the time we get to January, we're busting at the seams and challenging people to become better. So let's do this. Continue building community, maintaining connectivity, keep your heads up, keep your hopes up. You all stay safe, stay sane, and know this. I'm sending love through the airwaves to all of you all. Thank you for joining the Let's Talk to Cutler broadcast for these 1800 seconds. I'll see you all Thursday.